Joining me now is the Democratic Senator Alex Padilla of California. He's a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee. He's the top Democrat on the Senate Rules and Administration Committee. Senator, great to have you back on the show. Thank you for being with us.
Good to be back with you, Velshi.
We talk about Alex Preddy and Renee Good, and we have to remember they're not just regular people who got shot by this administration. These were actually patriots. They were doing a constitutional duty of monitoring these people. But you were doing what you thought your duty was once in trying to hold Kristi Noem to account, and you got tackled to the ground before it while you're saying who you are and saying that you're a United States senator. So that, you know of what this is.
No, absolutely, Velshi, and we got to keep calling it out for what it is, right? Renee Good, Alex Preddy, standing up for their neighbors, exercising their First Amendment rights. But because of the lawlessness of the administration, because of how out of control Kristi Noem's Department of Homeland Security is, 2 United States citizens shot, and that's just separate and apart from the abuse, the cruelty, the violence with which they're attacking so many immigrants in this mass deportation agenda. We're learning more and more each day about the inhumane conditions so many people are being detained or are living under, including children that are being traumatized. There's so much that is going wrong with this administration. It should surprise no one that of all areas of the federal government, this partial government shutdown that we find ourselves in right now is specifically the Department of Homeland Security, a complete failure of Secretary Kristi Noem, but that's the reflection of President Trump.
I want to just play again. I played it in the last hour at the end of it, but I want to play what Kristi Noem has said about the SAVE Act and about how Republicans have been, quote, proactive to make sure we have the right people voting, electing the right leaders to the country. I've just said it, but I want to hear it in Kristi Noem's language. Let's just play that.
I would say that many people believe that it may be one of the most important things that we need to make sure we trust is reliable, and that when it gets to Election Day that we've been proactive to make sure that we have the right people voting, electing the right leaders to lead this country.
So you were the Secretary of State of California. Most people who talk about elections, talking about people voting, because about 60% of people vote in presidential elections, about 40% in midterms, would like it to be 100%. You don't refer to the right people voting. You refer to citizens voting.
Right. Here's the bottom line when it comes to the SAVE Act, or they've relabeled it now the Save America Act. The only thing it's going to save is their hopes of holding on to power this November, because they know how unpopular, not just unpopular, their policies and their track record has been, but how damaging it's been. The impact of the Trump administration is, like, costs have not come down for working families. They continue to be way expensive: housing, food, etc. Healthcare costs, making access to healthcare either more expensive or too expensive to even afford. You see people's fundamental civil rights being violated on a daily basis, either on the evening news or through your social media feed, with this indiscriminate raids happening in Minneapolis. It happened in Los Angeles, still happening in California and elsewhere across the country. The only way they can try to stay in power is to rig the elections. Trump still can't accept the fact that he lost in 2020. And so we've gone from find me 11,000 more votes in Georgia to find me more congressional seats in Texas. Let's make it harder for eligible people to register or vote so that only the people he wants can get to the ballot box. That is absolutely un-American.
I'm going to get a hat that says I am the right people. Right? If you want the right people to vote, I'm the right people. I want to go a little further with you down this road of your old job as a Secretary of State. Steve Bannon has floated the idea of deploying ICE agents to polling places during the upcoming elections. There's one Republican. I want to play a little bit of sound from him. He's a Republican Congressman, Jason Smith of Missouri. This is what he said about this idea.
Why should you ban ICE from being at polling places? Because illegals aren't supposed to vote in this America. I mean, it does not make sense, the requests that they're happening. Enforce the rule of law, and that's what President Trump is doing. Apparently, Democrats don't like the rule of law.
So we've studied this a lot. The percentage of non-citizens who are on voters' rolls in America is somewhere along the lines of 0.000003%. That's 5 zeros ahead of the 3. If you're trying to deal with elections in America, pretty much all our effort should be in getting that 60% of people who vote to 100, right? This is a non-problem.
Right. It's the simple lesson we all should have learned in high school government class. Democracy works best when as many eligible people participate in our elections. And study after study, report after report shows, unlawful voting, non-citizens voting is exceedingly rare. You read the stats right there. And so that tells me our existing laws are working. It is already a crime for non-citizens to vote. And so we have the checks and balances built in when you register to vote, when you update your address, and yes, when you go vote, and when we audit ballots after the fact. What the Trump administration is toying with doing is sending ICE to the polls to intimidate voters. They'll suppress the vote through the rules of voter registration, limiting vote by mail, and for those who do choose to vote in person, they're going to try to intimidate in certain communities, of course.
And what about this nonsense about providing citizenship proof every time you vote, right? You guys do audit the voter rolls. So the point is, you know who's on it, you make adjustments, you audit, you throw people off and you put extra people on. This is not a thing. I mean, I literally talk about discouraging people from voting. Women who've changed their names that don't match their birth certificate, their married name doesn't match their birth certificate, their license doesn't match their birth certificate. This is nonsensical.
Right, absolutely nonsensical. I mean, to insist on bringing your birth certificate or a passport. A lot of Americans don't even have a passport because not everybody travels internationally. It's the equivalent of a show me your papers law to be able to exercise your fundamental constitutional right to vote. And who would be impacted? The SAVE Act may sound good in some quarters. One big example is what you just said. A woman who may choose to change her name when she gets married, all of a sudden her birth certificate name is different than her ID, and that becomes a problem. It's never been a problem. It isn't a problem. Or what about people who live in rural areas, have to make their way to a county courthouse to verify their registration when you're already working probably more than 8-10 hours a day just to make ends meet? It's not just an inconvenience. Members of the military, when they're deployed and they change from one base to another, have to go through hoops to update their registration to exercise their right to vote when they should be focusing on their core missions and our national security. Again, the SAVE Act is a solution in search of a problem. The only thing that's saved is Republican chances of holding on to power. That's how desperate they are.
Senator, I appreciate this conversation. This is the 6th anniversary of this show, and I know you're a United States Senator, but you and I talked so much when you were the Secretary of State, and these matters are really important. So I know I've leaned more into that than your current job, but you're a regular on the show, so we'll have lots of opportunities to talk. We thank you for that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, Ali. And look, for all the folks out there wondering what can they do to stand up to this administration, yes, we rally, yes, we organize, yes, we protest. Let's make sure we're all ready and all of our friends and neighbors and coworkers are ready to register to vote and vote this November.
That's exactly right. Thank you, sir. We appreciate your time. Senator Alex Padilla, a Democrat of California. All right.